Hey third graders, it's Mrs. Young here, and today we're going to be thinking about one more unit of measurement that we often use to measure small lengths, like really small lengths. And that unit is called millimeters. Now notice how in millimeter, we still see the word meter right there. So a millimeter is a tiny little unit of length, and there's actually 1,000 millimeters in every single meter. See these tiny little marks right here? So we can start at, let's get it even closer to you. I'll hold it up. All right, see these tiny little marks? There we go, now you can really see it. And so this would be 0, and each of these tiny little marks is 1 millimeter. Each one. So if I were to count them in between here, and actually where it says 1, this actually would mean 1 centimeter right there. We're going to see that there's 10 of them. Let's try it. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So inside of every centimeter, there's 10 millimeters. And let's look on here, I have millimeter. It says or mm, which stands for millimeter. Now, what kinds of things would we measure in millimeters? Would I measure a marker in millimeters? Well, probably not, because this would be about 130 some millimeters. That would be a pretty big number for how long a marker is. But I'm going to measure things that are pretty small using millimeters. So for example, I might measure a dime using millimeters, right? So if I were to see how long a dime is, I'm actually going to make a mark at the end of my dime over here and another one right at this end as well. So I can see that my dime fits right in between, and I'm going to measure and see how long or how far across is one dime. So let's get the camera even closer so that you can really see it. All right, and we're gonna go ahead and see how big is a dime in millimeters. So I'm going to measure each of these little marks here. So I start at 0, and I can see it's, remember, this would be 10 millimeters, right? And then 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and I think it's right at that 18 mark. So a dime would be 18 millimeters long. So I'm going to say here that a dime is 18 millimeters. So there's my dime. That'll help me remember. I have some other things here that I could also measure using millimeters. So for example, I might measure this die or dice from a game that I have. I could measure this little plastic chip. I might measure other coins as well, like a penny. I would maybe measure small rocks or special minerals. So remember from our rocks and minerals unit, maybe you have a really cool rock or mineral and you want to know how big it is. I could measure how big a paper clip is, or even seeds. So this is actually a little sunflower nut, but you could measure different seeds. So if I wanted to know how big a corn seed or a bean seed is, I would use millimeters to measure that. All right, so now you're going to go ahead in the Google Doc and practice measuring in millimeters. And you also will be thinking about which unit would you use to measure different objects. Would you use millimeters, or would you use a unit that's bigger like centimeters or meters? All right, bye for now, everybody.